Hello, I'm George Dick,
And I'm Talia Hodgson.
and we're presenting for the Orangeville Public Library and Community Living Dufferin Storytelling Series. So, I grew up in Orangeville, and actually I worked at Orangeville Hydro. I started there as a meter reader in 1981 and eventually became president for about the last 17 years, but retired 2 years ago up to Meaford, Ontario. We also spent about 17 years living in the Grand Valley area. And I write basically because I enjoy doing it. Talia?
I took a journalism course and I've always enjoyed writing, and then my dad encouraged that, and because of him I got interested in it more as I got older, and we've co-written 2 books together, and I had the pleasure of being a part of that and editing, and I've just continued to enjoy writing and try to incorporate it in my day-to-day life.
So together, Talia and I have written a book called The Quiet Light. This was our first one. And the second one, Harvesters of Stone. So when I started looking at writing this book, The Quiet Light, my wife and I had been down to St. Augustine, and we were in a shop that would do family trees and so on. And the person there said that there was a knight in our family history, Sir Alexander Dick. So I did some research, and I found out that Sir Alexander Dick had been president of the College of Physicians in Scotland, Edinburgh, Scotland, and that Benjamin Franklin had quite often visited him and stayed at his house, Prestonfield House. And I had just finished watching a series about John Adams where it showed Benjamin Franklin going over to Europe to raise money for the American Revolution. And also I found out that Alexander Dick's great-grandfather, William Dick, had been the richest man in Scotland, and he had lent money to the kings in England, but when he went to try to get some of it back, Cromwell had him thrown in prison. So I thought, wow, that's a pretty interesting story. And it occurred to me that maybe Benjamin Franklin had Alexander Dick send over some of the family's wealth to help support the American Revolution. So I started to write a book, and Talia helped me. And I took it to a friend of mine who had been a vice president at one of the major book companies. And I asked him if he would read it and let me know what he thought. And he said no. He says, I want to stay your friend. And I'm very brutal in what I say about books. So I said, well, I'd rather hear it from you than hear it from anyone else. So he read the book, and he said that he was very entertained by it. And then he said, you had other people writing this? And I said, no. And he says, well, at least one. And I said, yes, my daughter wrote some of it in the middle. He said, well, you tell her that she should work at this craft because she's very talented. So I said to Talia, how about you help me finish the book, you edit it, you put in changes that you want, and then that'll be co-authored. And so we came up with The Quiet Light. It was left with a bit of a cliffhanger because I thought originally that we could do it into a series. It was written from the point of view of a little girl at the time who grew up into a big girl, but named Carly Owens. So my friend also suggested that we do the self-publishing route because he said unless you are well-known, famous, you've already got a track record as an author, it's going to be very hard for one of the the major publishing companies to get in the door with them. So that's what we did. We did the self-publishing. We did The Quiet Light. And as I said, Talia wrote several sections in the book and edited and made changes, and then it was left with a cliffhanger. So people asked us, when's the second book coming out? And we worked away at this. Of course, while we were doing that, we also, my wife and I retired. My wife and I moved to Meaford. Talia and her husband Devin were in Waterloo, so it took a bit of time. So when we looked at doing The Harvesters of Stone, which was the sequel, we actually put The Quiet Light in the book as well as part one. So if you purchase Harvesters of Stone, you're actually going to get two books. Part one is The Quiet Light, and part two, The Harvesters of Stone.
So I'll just read to you the back book jacket of Harvesters of Stone, just so you have an idea of what the book is about. So it says, while on a summer history research trip in Charleston, South Carolina in 1976, William Dick is befriended by Jack Falstaff. Bullscat Jack, as he is known, gets Bill a room at the Alvermay, a seedy hotel run by Fripp, a black man raised on Fripp Island. Bullscat Jack tells Bill and Fripp a story about how Benjamin Franklin arranged for Bill's ancestors from Edinburgh, Scotland, to send a fortune over to Charleston in the 1770s to help the Patriots win the Revolutionary War against the British. Jack then pulls a stunt that gets Bill in trouble with the law. Fripp hides Bill at the Blue Dolphin Inn on Fripp Island. Spending days in Beaufort, South Carolina, Bill meets an eclectic group of characters who, together with Fripp and B.S. Jack, search out the treasure they believe to be hidden in and around Charleston. The clues that they follow are from stories that Bill's ancestors have passed down. A double cross leads to a double murder in Sumter County that remains unsolved to this day. Bill's granddaughter, Carly Owens, picks up the search for the treasure where her grandfather left off.
So as you can guess from what Talia just read, this is about a treasure hunt. And in writing the book, I did a lot of research, a lot of visits to Charleston, South Carolina, Beaufort, South Carolina, as well as Williamsburg, Virginia, and so on, and tried to make a lot of the details really live in the book. For example, there's a scene that takes place at the Edmonston Alston house, which is a house that's been around since long before 1776. And I actually toured that house 3 times in order to get details. No picture taking was allowed, so I had to write down everything. At one point, the tour guide mentioned that there was a silver candlestick that had gone missing, and I included that in the book. She also mentioned about the staircase, that telling people to watch the bottom step because a lot of people trip on that. So I also put that in the book. So there's a lot of details. I've had a lot of people say where they've called me up and said, hey, Poogan's Porch, I've eaten at that place. That's in Charleston, South Carolina, famous restaurant. I had one person, a town councilor from Wasaga Beach, say, my wife and I went on vacation and we decided to visit the spots in your book along the way. So that's wonderful. It's very interesting. It's a good read. Again, one of the best accolades was from a vice president from a major book company that said he was really entertained by it. There was another online accolade, and I'll get Talia to read that for us.
So this is a review from Cliff Wright. It says, I've just finished George Dick's and Talia Hodgson's book, Harvesters of Stone. So exciting with spies and buried treasure. Just when it's figured out, they pull a fast one, leading to what I hope is a third book in the series. Get that next one done, George, while you're stuck at home.
Thanks, Talia. So what we're going to do now, we're going to read a couple of excerpts from the book, and then we'll tell you where you can contact us for any questions, or also where you can purchase the book. So this is from Harvesters of Stone, and it starts off in part 1, The Quiet Light. My name is Carolina Luann Owens, Carly for short. This is my story. Well, it's not exactly my story, although I am in it. I grew up thinking my papa's life was kind of boring, only ever puttering away in his woodworking shop, building dollhouses for Granny Sienna, never doing anything of interest or excitement. Never did I imagine that the life he lived long before I came along had been full of adventure. I suppose that's the case with most of us. We only see people as we know them now. We form an opinion until we actually get to know them, listen to their stories, and see what they are really like. We don't know what challenges they had to overcome, what sacrifices they have endured, or decisions that they have made in their past that have created who they are, until we delve a little deeper. Of course, never did I think for a moment that my papa's past would involve hidden treasure, pirates, and a secret and underground society in Scotland, the American Revolution, and an unsolved murder in South Carolina. My earliest memories with my papa go back to when I was about 5 years old. "Papa," I whispered, "it's too dark. Can you snuggle me a bit?" "Okay, Carly, but just for a bit. It's already way past your bedtime." "Papa, what happened to your dog, Otis? I liked Otis a lot. I miss him." "I miss him too. He was a good dog. He passed away." "What's passed away mean?" "He died." "Why did he die, Papa?" "Well, he got old. When you get old, you eventually die." "Will I get old, Papa? I don't want to die." "That's a long way off, Carly. You're only 5 years old. You have a lot of living to do first. Don't be worrying yourself about that." "Papa, why do boys like girls?" "Well, God made things that way so that boys would be attracted to girls, and that they would find a person to marry and have children of their own." "Oh, why do you ask?" "Well, some boys in my class like me." "I see," Papa smiled. "I don't think that you need to worry about getting married yet. I think those boys just want to be your friends." "Oh, that's good, Papa." "Yes, Carly." "Why do you have hair in your ears?" "Well, when you get older, you start to get hairs in your ears and your nose, and you start to lose hair on your head." "Yuck! How come you were sneezing a lot today, Papa? Are you sick? Do you have a cold?" "No, Carly, I have allergies." "What are allergies?" "Allergies mean you're allergic to something. Something makes you sneeze and your eyes itch." "I don't have allergies, Papa. Mom says that you have to stay away from strangers. Like when we were shopping. I'm supposed to stay close to her so nobody takes me away." "Yes, that is a smart thing to do." "Can strangers come and take me from my bed?" "No, Granny Sienna and I are right here to protect you." "Did you lock the doors?" "Yes, Carolina. All the doors are locked. You don't have to worry." "Papa, I don't like the dark. Can you leave the light on? And can you tell me a story?" "Well, why don't we turn the light off and I will tell you a story about the quiet light." So that starts off part 1 of the book, The Quiet Light. So the book moves from the present day back to 1976 in Charleston, South Carolina. And here's a couple of characters. This is Bull Scat Jack. You will find that there's a lot of color pictures throughout the book. There's a map here of where a lot of the events take place. One of the main characters in the book is Fripp, named after Fripp Island, and so on. So, as I said, it moves forward to Charleston, South Carolina, and we find that William Dick is standing on the corner just outside Pugin's Porch restaurant, and a voice comes out from behind him, and it says, "Did you get rolled, mate?" The voice came from the entrance to Pugin's Porch behind Bill. There was no response. "Did you get rolled, mate?" A tall Australian called out again. "I'm sorry, were you talking to me?" Bill responded. "I don't see anybody else who looks like he just lost everything. It's a long story." "What's your name, mate?" the stranger asked in a friendly tone as he approached. William Dick. Friends just call me Bill." "Well, just Bill. You didn't get rolled, but you look pretty lost. You have a suitcase. You must need a place to stay." "I do," Bill said gloomily. "A friend of mine owns the Alvermay Inn. Most of the people that stay there are either prostitutes or winos, or they got rolled. You know, mugged. The place ain't pretty, but it's cheap. I stay there myself when I'm in Charleston. You interested?" "Sure, why not?" This was the first bit of good news Bill had all day. "Where are you from, mate?" "Toronto. Well, actually Grand Valley, about an hour and a half north of Toronto." "I really appreciate this. I didn't get your name," Bill asked the stranger. "Jacques Pierre Falstaff. My mother was French-Canadian, hence the Jacques Pierre. My acquaintances call me Jack. My friends call me BS Jack." "BS?" "Yeah, short for Bull Scat." "I'm afraid to ask," Bill commented as the two men walked east along Queen Street. "Do they call you Bull Scat because you're full of bull?" Bill tried to make a joke and snickered to himself, but he was still feeling downhearted. "I prefer to call it useless information," Jack answered. "What brings you to Charleston?" Jack asked. "Just a place I'd never been. I planned on doing some sightseeing and studying history. It looks like those plans have changed, though." With head hung low, Bill whispered to himself, the best laid plans of mice and men. "I thought with maybe a name like Dick, you were searching some family history. That name has quite a historical significance in this area. Although not a common knowledge," Jack continued. "How so?" Bill inquired. "Well, there's a story that Alexander Dick financed the American Revolution," Jack said. "My middle name is Alexander." "William Alexander Dick. That's really interesting, mate. Don't suppose you're Scottish, too?" "My grandfather was from Scotland," Bill replied. As Bill Dick and Jack Falstaff walked east along Queen Street, Bill was half listening to Jack and half thinking about his newfound singleness. He hoped Erica would be okay on her own getting back to the valley. What kind of person worries about a girl who just ripped his heart out? He thought rounding the corner onto East Bay, the old exchange in Provost Dungeon came into view. "Well, there's the Alvermay," Jack pointed out as the two men reached Broad Street, capturing Bill's attention once again. I'm going to skip all the detail about the Alvermay and go into where they meet Fripp, who is the owner of the Alvermay. "Fripp," Jack called out. "Fripp, I brought you a guest." A middle-aged black man hobbled out from the kitchen that was located behind the bar. He was wearing a gray apron and drying his hands with a towel. Fripp had a kind of grin on his face and looked Bill up and down. I suppose you want a freebie." giving Bill the once-over. No, I have money. Not much, but some. Okay, man, $35 for the week, and if you need a job, you can do dishes for me. I'll pay you $2 for 1 hour. Sure, Bill answered. I'll take the room and the job. Huh, wait till you see the room, Jack joked. Here's a key for room number 4 upstairs. It's across from Jack's room, number 3. You can start work tomorrow night, stow your gear upstairs, and then come on back down. What's your name, son? William Dick. Bill. As Bill was walking up the stairs to his room, he overheard Fripp ask Jack, "So what's the story on this one, Jack?" "I don't really know, Fripp. He just looked like he needed a friend." Upstairs, Bill opened the door to room number 4. It was quite small. There was a single cot, a dresser with a mirror in it, and a fan. He looked around. No washroom. He thought at least it didn't smell as bad as the bar downstairs. As Bill threw his suitcase on the cot, a mouse ran out from underneath. The wallpaper was peeling off the walls. The only window in the room opened onto East Bay Street. Bill struggled but got it open to let some air in. The window ledge itself was coated with several months' worth of dust, dead flies, and beetles. So from there, Bill meets up with a group of eclectic characters, and they are very interesting indeed. So we're going to continue on with Talia reading a little bit as well from the book.
35 Meeting Street, Charleston, July 1976. 35 Meeting Street was built in 1720 by William Bull Sr. He also had a hand in establishing the College of Charleston. While it was true that William Bull Jr. received a medical degree, the history books did not tie him or his father to Dr. Alexander Dick of Scotland. Bill returned to Charleston with Fripp and Jack Falstaff. He spent a few days wandering up and down Meeting Street and walking over to the College of Charleston, trying to think of where the treasure could be and how he could get his hands on it. But that wasn't the only thing mystifying him. Bill was intrigued by Thaddeus. People just don't go mad, he thought. There has to be a driving force, some reason, something that pushed him over the edge. While at the College of Charleston one afternoon, he visited the campus library. Leafing through old yearbooks, he searched for the face of this madman in his youth. His eyes almost passed over the black and white photo of the clean-cut, 20-something man, grinning a full-toothed smile. He looked happy. He looked normal. Bill even found T.W. in group pictures for the track team, drama club, and cast photos for the school's production that year of Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. He was a picture of health and vitality. Heck, he was a picture of normalcy. Sure, pictures can lie, smiles can be misleading, but seeing the life that Thaddeus had, and had no more, left Bill feeling unsettled. He felt a deep pain for T.W. and all that he had lost. Money was nothing if you didn't have your marbles. All the things he could have done with his life, all that he could have become. A review for the play stated, "Thaddeus Wolfe stole the show as the young Prince of Denmark." The review went on to praise him, and there was a brief interview included in which T.W. said he had dreams of making it in show business after college. The review closed by saying, "Thaddeus Wolfe is a name not to forget. We may be seeing it one day up in lights or on the playbill for a Broadway show." He left the library with more questions than answers. The review filled his head. T.W. had star power and potential for greatness. Bill had to know what happened to him. When he went back to Beaufort, he would confront him and find out for good. For now, he had more important things to focus on. As he paced up and down Meeting Street, he mulled over the only 2 clues that his ancestors had left him. "You've got to be carefully taught," and Sister Anne, do you see anybody coming?" "No, but the wind's blowing and the cock's crowing and there's 3 men on horseback far, far away." Bill decided that the more likely of the 2 sites where treasure would be hidden was 35 Meeting Street. An impressive garden wall surrounded the yard at 35 Meeting Street, a 3-story house. Bill noticed a dormer window off the attic facing to the east. He thought to that where this story about Sister Anne took place. Were the children held captive in the attic?
So, as you can see, this book and the reviews that have been mentioned before, it's a treasure hunt. And there are twists and turns. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. I did send a book to the Lagina brothers, Marty and Rick Lagina and Alex Lagina. And if you recognize that name, that's because they are the ones who are searching on Oak Island, Nova Scotia, for the treasure. And in part of this book, part of the treasure ends up there. And Marty Lagina wrote back to me and said, "You just might be onto something, George. Stay tuned." So I'm sure that you would find reading this very interesting and enjoyable. We will get some copies to the library in Orangeville and Grand Valley once the COVID-19 quarantines, etc., are over. But if you would like to contact us, my cell number is 519-939-2611. You can text me. You could email me at George O. Dick, all small case, it's D-I-C-K. So George O. Dick at outlook.com. And I will reply to the email. Or if you do want to purchase the book, it can be purchased through, where'd you say, Talia?
Amazon, Chapters, and
iUniverse. I have a website there. It is called www.georgeodick.com. Now, just because it all says George O. Dick doesn't mean that Talia is any less. It's just easier to have one contact. So I know that you can download it there through an ebook at, I believe it's $3.99. Or at iUniverse, they have the full book, I think about $32.95. But the reason being, there are a lot of color pictures in it too that put the cost up. So my suggestion for you as writers is write what you know. A lot of the stories in it were done by me researching so that I knew things. Also stories from my own life that were worked into the book, and as well have a good daughter that's very creative. So write what you know and do it because you enjoy it. Talia and I would really like to thank the library and Community Living Dufferin for giving us this opportunity to share with you the information from our book. And as well, we'd like to thank Kathy Hall for asking us to do this. So enjoy.